Hello everyone, I'm Chris McIntosh. I help teach the statistics courses, and this week we're going to go over our week 2 computer assignment. So our objectives are to learn what an Excel pivot table is and how to create one, explore a data set in Excel using a pivot table, and calculate some descriptive statistics in a pivot table. So you should have the week 2 data set file provided to you. You want to download that and open it up. And it's going to look like this in Excel. So the data currently in your worksheet is a list. Excel recognizes lists of data when there are no gaps in rows or columns. Lists are useful in Excel because they can be sorted and filtered. Click on a cell somewhere in the list and turn on the filter button. So here is our data set. You want to click somewhere inside the list and go to data, the data ribbon up at the top. It's right in the middle. And then click this little thing that looks like a funnel, and that is the filter button. And you'll see now you get these little buttons at the top of your list that you can use to sort and filter. So you can try this out on any of the columns. Let's try GFR. Click on the little triangle button there, and you'll see you have a couple options here. At the top, you can sort from smallest to largest and from largest to smallest. And down here, you can do some filtering. You can select things. So let's go ahead and sort GFR into smallest to largest, and we see we have small values going up. You can also change it and go from largest to smallest. And we can do the same thing with any of the columns there. So filtering is handy. Sometimes you want to just look at a certain subset of the data. So let's try filtering on the CKD status. If we click on that, we can see we have some different categories down here. And let's click on select all, and let's just see the 3B people. And now you'll see that you have, they're all 3Bs. You'll notice on the left that the numbers don't go in order. They skip, and that's because we've filtered out others. You can just see those people. If we want to go and see everybody again, you can go back and click on select all, so you see check boxes and everything, and click on it again, and you'll see that things go in order again. So sorting and filtering are two very useful things to do with lists in Excel. That's part of the advantage of setting up a list in Excel, is that you can do that if you have gaps, or you've got merged rows or things like that, or strange headings in the middle. Then you've kind of cut off your options for sorting and filtering. So this is one reason to structure your data this way for Excel. So tables in Excel provide extra data management features. So we're going to turn this list into a table. So click somewhere inside of the list, go to Insert and Table, and you'll notice that Excel recognizes our block of data, and you want to make sure that this box is checked. It says my table has headers, because ours does have headers. So it's going to realize that the first row are just descriptions, and then all the data is down there. And then you can click OK. And you'll notice we saw this last week, that when we created a table, we got a new ribbon for the table called Table Design, and then with the table name in there. If we click outside the table, that ribbon disappears. If you click inside the table, that ribbon comes back. And we're going to change the name of this table to CKD data. So let's go up here to in the table design ribbon under the table name, and let's change that to CKD data. And that's how I spelled it in the slide, so we'll use that same way. And then now that table has a name called CKD data. It's useful to use descriptive names for your tables because that way it's easier to identify which table is which. If you start having multiple tables, it's really hard to remember what's table 1, what's table 2, what's table 3. So I would always recommend renaming your table to something that's kind of descriptive. So something to know about tables is when you add a new row at the bottom of a table. So let's call this, I just put in a new ID number, 10,002 or 100,002 apparently. You'll see that it got included as part of the table automatically. I'm just going to delete that row. We don't need an extra one there. And we're going to add a BMI column here. So go up to your table, and if we go over to the end of the table, and let's put a new column called BMI, you'll notice that when I put it in the next column over, that this column automatically became part of the table. And we're going to put the formula here for that. So the formula for the BMI is weight in pounds divided by height in inches squared times 703. So we're going to go to this first cell and goes equals weight in pounds, and I can just click on this first cell, weight in pounds divided by height in inches, and I'm going to go ahead and put some parentheses here. So I'm going to click right after the division sign there, and we're going to go a little up caret, that's shift 6, and then a parentheses, and then I want this whole thing, I'm going to put another parentheses at the front and at the end, and times 703. Let's make sure that looks right. Yep. And let's hit enter. And if I didn't make any mistakes, okay, where did I make my mistake? Well, when in doubt, start over again. Equals weight in pounds divided by, let's do parentheses and then put height in inches squared. Okay, so went in okay that time. Now you'll notice that it automatically put that formula all the way down. And I'm going to reformat these. I don't need 6 decimal places or however many are there. I'm just going to select the column, right click on it, go to format cells, and we'll go to number, and let's just do 0 decimal places. It's a lot easier to look at. So having a table means that when you put a formula in one cell, it puts the formula to all the other cells, and that's handy. Okay, so our analysis checklist, we looked at that a little bit last week, and we did a little bit of updating based on our readings. And let's take a peek at what items in our analysis checklist. So under the big picture section, study information, we talked a little before about what are the research questions and have investigators hypothesized any outcomes. We don't have anything specific we're looking at yet, so nothing there. What were the data handling procedures? So we talked a little bit in the readings about that. And if I were using Excel, then I would add something in about data were recorded, and however, did you do it on paper? Did you do some sort of online submission? And then you could say, data were entered into Excel, as a data handling procedure. What are the variables in the data set and the level of measurement for each one? So let's go ahead and look at that really quick, because it's always good to orient. And we had looked at these a little bit. I think I might have changed the names a little bit. So our first column is person ID. And this is where you really want to pay close attention to your spelling and capitalization. So sometimes a little difference can make have a big impact. So you definitely want to use exact spelling and capitalization when working with variable names. So we have our person ID, and we said this was an ID variable, so that's nominal level of measurement. Our admit date, we talked about calendar dates being interval level of measurement. Our glomerular filtration rate, GFR. These are numbers with decimal points and meaningful 0 points, so this is ratio. Gender, this divides people into groups, and so that is nominal. There's no particular order for gender. Height in inches, that's a physical measurement, so a meaningful 0 point, that's ratio. Weight in pounds, that's a physical measurement with a meaningful 0 point. That is ratio. CKD status, we decided that this was groups that had an order. So there's definitely a low and a high group here. So that is going to be ordinal. And then BMI was calculated from weight and height. So there is a meaningful 0 point. And so that's going to be ratio level of measurement. Describe any data accuracy issues. So, and then we're looking for, are there any problems in the way things are typed, any nonsense values? Are there any missing data and outliers? So I think I might have some slides that look at that. Okay, let's look at the next slide. So we have our levels of measurement. Did I put, okay, yeah, I did. So I'm going to come over here before we jump into the pivot table. Probably should have reordered this a little bit, but we'll go to the next slide and look at the sorting and looking for missing and extreme values. So sorting is really handy because I can actually, if I had missing values, then if I sort either at the top or the bottom, if I had missing, then those would come up here and I'd see them. So sorting each of your variables, ascending, descending, is a really quick and easy way to see if you have any missing or crazy values here. So, as I'm looking at this, I'm not seeing any missing values here in these columns. I'm just going through each column and sorting it ascending and then sorting it descending to see if I have anything strange at either end. And I don't. And BMI is from 16 up to 38. And then if you, on these categorical variables, if you click in there, you can see all the categories listed. And, if there was something, they'd misspelled something or they had differences in the way they typed it, you'd see extra categories in there. So this is also a nice way to just kind of review the data set. Genders, we only have 0s and 1s. There's no accidental 2s in there or no strangely spelled things. So sorting and checking the filter categories are a great, a really quick and easy way to just get an idea of what you have going on there. And we didn't see any missing data. So sorting and checking categories. Okay, let's go back and now let's look at the pivot tables. So we have a regular table, and now we're going to create what they call a pivot table. So we're going to go to click on somewhere inside the table, and we're going to go to Insert. And now on the left-hand side, you'll see that there is an option called a pivot table. So we're going to click on that. And you'll see our table range is the name that we gave our table. So that's what we want to work with. And we're going to put this pivot table in a new worksheet. So we're going to hit OK. All right. And last week we talked a little bit about descriptive statistics for categorical variables and descriptive statistics for continuous variables. So let's get frequencies and percentages for our categorical variables. So we're going to drag gender from our pivot table. So you see over here we have pivot table fields, and we're going to drag gender into the rows. And now you can see that like we saw before, we have zeros and ones, which were our two categories for gender. And we're going to drag this person ID over to values. Now, Excel does its best to take a guess at what you want to see. And we'd already talked a little bit about this person ID. It was all numbers. And Excel's kind of assuming that we want to use those as numbers. But in reality, if there had been letters in there, Excel would have known, oh, I can't really add up letters, so we're going to do counts, but it saw numbers, and so it did sums. But we can actually fix this pretty easily. So we're going to click over on this values of interest, person ID, we're going to click on the little box and go to value field settings down here at the bottom of the little pop-up menu. And you'll see that the summarize value field by, and it has sum, but we're going to click on count instead. So we're going to click count and then click OK. And now you can see that we have the count of zeros are 5088 and ones are 4912. And I can't remember which was which are males and which was females. I don't know if I even looked at it. If I did, I don't remember it. But we won't worry about it for right now. But we have some counts right there. So there's our frequencies, there's our counts, but we'd also like to see the percent. Well, we can get that too. So if we take person ID and drag it over to the values box again, so now we have two of them, you'll see that again it gave us this sum, and we're going to change that to get a percentage. So we're going to go click on the sum of person ID down at the bottom and go to value field settings. And we're going to change that sum to counts. And then let's click on the show values as, and the calculation is, let's do percent of column total. Let's hit OK. Okay, and now we can see that zeros, we have 5088 and it's 50.88 or 50.9% of the total, and ones we have 4912 and that's 49.1%. So frequencies and percents, that was pretty painless. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for CKD status. So over here, I can't remember, I don't think I tacked them onto the end. So let's just copy this pivot table and paste it a little further down. And now we actually have two different pivot tables. So we can take out gender, just drag it out of the rows box, and let's put CKD status in the rows box. And now you can see that we have our different categories for CKD status, and we have the counts and the percentages for those. So that's our categorical variables. And I don't know, I'm going to rename this. Just going to call that categorical so that I can remember where I had that. Okay, now we want to get our means and standard deviations for our continuous variables. So let's go back to our table, which was under week 2, and click somewhere in the table. Let's go to Insert and Pivot Table, and again we have our CKD data and our new worksheet, and let's hit OK. And now we have a new sheet. I'm going to go ahead and right click on there and click on Rename and call that continuous. And so it looks like if we did height, so you'll see that if we drag height over to the values box, that it gives us the sum of all the heights, and we're interested in seeing the mean. So if we click on the little triangle in the values box and click on value field settings, and we can change that from a sum to an average and click OK. We can drag height back over to the values box. I'm going to make this a little taller because this box is going to get smaller. And we have the sum of height. Click on the little triangle and hit value field settings, and if we go down we can see standard deviation. So now we have a mean and a standard deviation there. And we can do the same thing for weight, BMI, and GFR. So let's go ahead and weight. And I think there's a couple ways you could do this. You could either copy the table and paste it, or you can just drag the new variables over so you can just see them next to each other, and that's what I'm going to do. So weight, we're going to change to, click on value field settings and change this to average, and then weight, we're going to drag another copy down and click on the value field settings for the new one and change that to standard deviation. And we decided we were going to do BMI down at the bottom of that box and change the sum. Click on value field settings, change it to average, and BMI, drag it down at the bottom again and scroll down, and for sum of BMI, click on value field settings and change it to standard deviation. And GFR, let's grab that and drag it down to the bottom of the box and change sum of VFR in the value field settings to the average. And GFR one more time, drag it down to the bottom, and we get sum of GFR. Click on the value field settings and change that to standard deviation. So now we have our heights, average, mean and standard deviation, weights, BMI, and GFR. We get means and standard deviations for everything. So one handy thing you can do with this is these are for the values overall, but you can get them split out into categories. So if you dragged gender now down to rows, then you can see we have this, and then we have our means and standard deviations for each group right there. That's pretty handy. If you didn't want gender, you could always do it by CKD status and get these split out by the different categories, means and standard deviations for these things. The one where you're really going to see a difference here is GFR. So we know these categories are based off of their GFR, and so you can see as these categories get more severe, this GFR keeps going down. So a lot of flexibility here for seeing things. You can do some really quick data exploration with a pivot table. And this isn't just research. If you're tracking something for work or whatever, this is a pretty handy tool. So I thought this was worth learning that with a pivot table. So we learned how to do a table, and now we have a pivot table looking at our categorical and our continuous variables. And these number formats, all these decimal places are kind of a pain. You can switch that. So let's, if we just highlight all the columns, or you can just highlight the specific data. Either way, if you right click, let's see. Oh, number format. Okay, so if you right click inside there and hit number format, you can go to number and change the decimals to 1 decimal place. Oh, didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. As you can see, I don't do this that often, but I wonder what happens if I did it this way. That was easier. So I just selected the column headings and then right-clicked on it and went to Format Cells. And then here in number, I selected number and changed the decimal place down to 1 and hit OK. So that was easier. There's usually 3 different ways to do things in Excel. And when in doubt, Google how to do something, and usually you can find instructions. So I do File and Save As, and pick your name and save complete or something like that, and then that you should probably be, you're going to be turning in. All right, so we sorted our columns looking for missing values. We double checked our categories. Okay, calculate a z-score for continuous variables to identify outliers. So if we went here for one of these, and okay, let's get z-scores for GFR rates. So if you remember, the z-score was calculated by getting the value, subtract the average, divided by the standard deviation. So if we look at our GFR, I'm going to put a new category in here. I'm going to call it GFR underscore Z for a new column. And then we're going to go equals, and we know we're going to have the top divided by the standard deviation. So I'm going to click on GFR value, and it looks like that looks good. Subtract the average at GFR. Oh, it didn't need the at. I just needed except I need brackets around my GFR. Okay, so it can get the whole thing, and then divided by the standard deviation. So we're going to do oh, and I misspelled it. GFR. Okay, so as you can see, putting these formulas in can get a little tricky. This is probably why we don't do a lot of this manipulation directly in Excel, but you can get away with something here or there. I'm going to change that to click on the column header, so I there, right click, go to Format Cells, and let's change the number format down to 1 decimal place. So if you remember, we were looking for outliers. Now that we have a z-score for GFR, we can sort it ascending and descending, and you'll see it take a second to sort. We're at negative 2.3. Those are the most extreme negative values, and if we sort from largest to smallest, we're at 1.6. So nothing's hitting 3. I don't really see any outliers, but that is something that you could go check for in Excel. But just another bit of practice putting a formula in. Okay, so you want to go complete the computer assignment questions, save this file, and you're going to turn this in for your computer file submission and answer the questions in Canvas. And I think that's it. That's it. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you guys later.